Incoming hostiles.
Hello and welcome to Ware Gaming Weekly. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Ware Gaming Weekly. My name is Nick, and across the world from me at 11 o'clock at night is my brother Josh. Say hi,
Hi,
Josh.
Josh.
Oh, yeah. Blame me for having to be at work
Hey, I work today
and
too.
3 hours ahead of time. On 3 hours ahead of time.
That's the real problem.
It is, yeah. Well, you could fix
You
that.
can fix that too.
No, I can't. How are you, Josh? What are you even up to?
Just the daily BS at work and, tired.
The daily grind?
The daily grind my head against the wall.
Yeah.
Whoa. But other than that, I mean, I'm doing all right.
Yeah. Kind of the same here. Like I've had so many people at work just ask me like customers will be like, "Oh, how you doing?" No, I didn't mean to, but I said same shit, different day to a customer and felt a little bad about it, but they laughed. I mean that's just all it is.
That's
you know?
all it is.
Actually went to the park yesterday and played some card games with some coworkers. Which was
Nice.
kind of nice. Nice change of pace. I really didn't want to go. I mean, and I had no aversion to hanging out with them or anything else. It was more of just like, it's my Saturday afternoon. I rarely get a Saturday afternoon to myself, but I just do the same thing I do every day. So I was like, which is to try to take over the world. But I decided to forego that plan to play Cards Against Humanity with my friends. So
Yeah.
it was good, and I lost, but I was second place. So,
But does anybody actually lose Cards Against Humanity?
Yes. If you have no cards or like one card, you lose.
Well, yes, I know.
You get nothing.
But everybody wins because it's a great game.
No, I've seen hearts get broken over that game, and a lot of other things that I cannot repeat. But I rarely get my heart broken over video games, which is what we're going to talk about. It's been a few weeks since we had a Ware Gaming Weekly.
I wouldn't say rarely anymore. I've had my heart broken a few times by video games.
Oh, especially when it comes to horses.
Especially when it comes to horses, and especially when it comes to like Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's fair. It's, I was recently hearing someone say, I think it was about, I don't know if it's about Rocksteady's new game. I don't think it was. I think it was about a different game. But basically, they were just like, oh, Halo. They're talking about Halo. And they were talking about how, like, this game is too big to not be great. And I was like, yeah, tell that to all the Kingdom Hearts fans.
Yeah.
Who, like,
waited
so long. Years for that game to be great.
Jonathan Dornbush, bless his soul, gave it such a great score on IGN, and it was just because we wanted it to be good. I think, like we just wanted it in our hearts to be good, and it just wasn't.
I think there is things to like about it. I thought the combat was well done and blah 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 blah, but I just don't think that there was any one part that was uniquely like satisfying.
Yeah.
The story clearly wasn't, and all that stuff. And honestly, I'm not really interested in there being more. I'm kind of I had my time with this game, and I'm ready for it to move on.
Yeah, after seeing what they did with that, I am ready for them to take it out to pasture. But
unlike Mass Effect, which I know they tried with the fourth one, and it just didn't hit the mark quite. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed for there being another Mass Effect game that like really brought it all back.
I want to see something new.
Because I don't know what they're talking about, but I just mean like.
Hang on, there's a freeze already.
It should be fine now because you're less frozen.
You're less frozen. Okay. But Mass Effect.
That's a weird insult.
You're less frozen.
I mean, of course, I would be cool with them doing something else than Mass Effect, but like, just that level.
Yeah, the universe of Mass Effect is very interesting, and I would love for them to do it. I just don't want to see them driving into the ground if BioWare isn't the BioWare they used to be.
That's true,
and
that's fine.
They've had a couple flubs, and I just don't know where they're at as far as like, are they capable, or is EA capable of letting them do what they need to do to get things right?
Yeah.
So anyway,
no, but yeah, I did. Well, we'll get there. So, we've both been playing a lot of new games this week.
Yeah, we have. Well, I've been playing a lot of games, not necessarily new.
Oh yeah. What have you been playing?
So, I hung out with our nephew, and I got to, our grandma gave us the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Brought that home
jealous.
from grandma's, and so I actually hooked it up to the 40 or my 50-inch 4K TV. I was wanting to find a CRT because that's what what the games were designed for, was on a CRT.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't have any of those anymore.
No.
So I hooked it up to the big screen TV, and it actually looks fine. And there's we probably a dozen or so games in there. So I introduced him to a number of games. We started off with Pokemon Snap.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it was great because there's going to be a new one soon.
Yeah, there's about to be a new one, and
I'm frozen again.
You're more like slow-mo.
Chugging. I'm going to turn off my fan. Give me a second.
Okay. Dropping frames, yo. I don't know that really should cause problems with like your connection though. I think it's your internet, bro. Oh, you can't hear me.
Well, you want to know what the problem really is? Is that my roommate is streaming Fortnite right? Not streaming Fortnite. It's playing Fortnite right now.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna say, it also comes from you went from decent internet to bad internet, and
yeah.
So anyway, we played Pokemon Snap, and I was showing him how to use the controller because it's a weird controller, and I still think the controller feels fine. I never really had I mean, it's a funky looking contraption, but I never really had a big problem with the controller. I thought the joystick was always a little cheap, but as far as like the controller itself, it worked. Both the controllers still work. The N64 turns right on. We almost played every one of the games that we have except only one didn't work, and that was Wave Race.
Oh, okay.
Which was disappointing. Me and him really wanted to race each other. We didn't really play Mario 64 yet, but we did play. We played Pokemon Snap, and then we played Pokemon Stadium.
Oh yeah.
We did a round of in there. These kids, they're used to just touching an app and starting something new every 5 seconds when they get bored. So he's ready to switch games just constantly. I'm like, we've got to stick to this game because when we were kids, like we only had these few games and we only had like an hour to play.
Yeah.
So like you didn't want to spend your whole time flipping through games. You wanted to find a game and play until the hour was done.
Yeah.
So I was
So I
trying
mean,
to
there
get
was
him to.
definitely times where I was like, nope, nope,
Oh
not
yeah,
feeling it.
there was definitely like, yeah, this one I'm not feeling it today. Um, we played we played a few rounds of Mario Party, and that was
Oh
fun.
yeah.
And we played the
So
N64.
and most of these times is he in most of these scenarios is he keeping up with himself, or are you kind of like
No,
playing with
a lot of times
like
he's got the controls going. Other than just having to tell him which buttons to press because he's not just not used to it. You know, the green button and the blue button and the trigger button and that kind of stuff. But he's able to do most of it. He had a hard time aiming the camera and Pokemon Snap, but I was able to, like, when we were playing Pokemon Stadium, I was able to give him the commands. You know, just tell him the button prompts to get, you know, to attack me or whatever.
yeah.
Uh, and then we played Buzz Bomber, which
I don't even know if I know what that is.
basically you play as a bumblebee, and it's like an arena bumblebee game where you like shoot at each other, and that's it. And then
Well,
you fly around, you collect different guns to shoot at each other with. He didn't have a really good time with that one because he just couldn't fly it.
yeah,
Um,
that's super
but you
exciting
know,
though that you
overall,
get.
yeah, I was really excited to play it again. That I didn't lose any of the like muscle memory from playing it.
Is there
And
one that he seemed to like the most out of those that he wants to play? Okay,
um,
I'm gonna go back to.
you know, he didn't specifically say one, but earlier today he asked if we could play the Nintendo or the old system again. I
Mm-hmm.
forget exactly what he said, but he wanted to play the old one.
Nintendo or something like that.
Um, and then we switched off and went to the PlayStation and we played a couple of the Lego games. We played like Lego Batman, and
Yeah.
he really liked those. And then he played this Ben 10 game on PlayStation Now. You know, I've got that
Mhm.
subscription, and he played this Ben 10 game for like an hour and a half straight.
Oh, really? All
Yeah,
by himself?
uh, all by himself. It was super like um, he could just totally understand it.
Oh,
Um,
wow. I didn't
it
even
was
know he
almost
knew
like a.
what Nintendo was.
Apparently, he did. He knew who all the characters were, and like you could switch between like the flame guy and the guy with 4 arms, and he knew all their names and stuff. He really liked it. He figured out how to do it. It was really kind of like a beat 'em up.
Okay.
It was like a beat 'em up with some just minor platforming because he's not very good at platforming at all. He can't jump for nothing. He can't jump in Mario. He can't jump in Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. He just can't.
Yeah, that's kind of
Um,
funny. I
yeah,
my perception of how he
the first.
plays games is weird just because what I'm used to is just having to do it for him or like making him pretend like he's playing and then I'm playing or something
Yeah.
like that.
Well,
But
I used to have to do that too, but he's getting there. He's almost 5 as of next week, and I was
yeah,
definitely playing games at 5. So
yeah.
he's getting there. Of course, we had to start pretty much with platformers. I probably started with something like Centipede or
Hmm.
those I probably did better at because there were less platforming elements in that. You didn't have to try to jump over and that dexterity. You just had to learn over time.
Yeah.
Um, but he also
I
has
still suck at platformers.
The Super Nintendo Mini
Mini.
upstairs that he plays with. So
I know when I was home, he kept asking if I wanted to play Street Fighter, which is something I was like, "You want to play Street Fighter? That's
yeah,
crazy."
yeah,
I
he
mean,
loves Street
I
Fighter.
suck at Street Fighter.
I do
He'd
too,
probably beat
and
me
so does
at it.
he. But
Oh well.
what he does. He did beat me at it. Oh, the other game we played on PlayStation Now was Power Rangers Battle for the Grid.
Oh yeah, yeah. Does it
It's a
suck?
Power Rangers fighting game. It was neat. It was like very cheap. It's not super cheap. Like it as a game. It looked like pretty high quality. Um, it wasn't janky. It was a bit like Marvel versus Capcom, where you had like these tag team. You
Mhm.
picked like 3 characters, and you could tag them in and out, and you could do like group attacks and assists and that kind of stuff.
Were they from like different versions of the?
Yeah, so you could pick like the Green Ranger, and you could pick which era of the Green Ranger, and the Red Ranger and the Black Ranger, and there was like this Trini. It was classic Trini in a mech suit. It was bizarre.
Trini Mecha
Yeah,
Trini. That's weird.
And they had Goldar. The like the splash image, the title screen image had Lord Zed. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
and a lot of these characters seemed like you could just unlock. It looked like there were some you could purchase.
Wait, do you mean Zordon?
No, Lord Zed.
Who's Lord
He was
Zed?
Lord Zed was the evil villain that came in after Rita.
Oh, I don't
And
remember.
then Rita Repulsa was the first
Mm-hmm.
villain, and then Lord Zed was like the second big villain to come in, and they became like a married couple that hated each other or something. It was
Ugh.
weird. He had this like gold like crown, or not gold, the silver crown with a Z on it, and you could see his brain.
Oh, I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, it was
Early
real
Power Rangers was
cheesy.
not really my. I mean,
Yeah,
I liked the Power Rangers movie and stuff like that, but I didn't watch those, and I definitely don't
yeah.
remember what.
And then they had this like metalified version of the Power Rangers theme, the original Power Rangers theme. It
Oh,
was,
that's
like
awesome.
heavy metal, double bass. It was cool.
Did you ever see the Power Rangers movie? They made the remake, or not the remake, but the reboot, I guess.
No,
Uh,
no,
no.
I left that in the past.
Yeah.
I'll
It
leave those
wasn't
good memories
terrible,
back.
but it wasn't great either. It was just, yeah. Well, I've been playing a really old console too.
Yeah.
Some of you may not know this, but none of you know this. No, let me. How do I? Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I'm having a stroke. So I broke down and I finally bought an Xbox One, and
Yeah.
it's right here. Um,
What
and
led to this purchase?
Game Pass, 100%.
Yeah.
So it was. I didn't know exactly what was on Game Pass, and I recently upgraded my phone,
Yeah.
to and I was debating on whether or not I was gonna keep iPhone or not because xCloud's coming to Android, and I think it's a really good deal and all this stuff. Um, but I just couldn't get out of the ecosystem, and I was like, well, what if I get Game Pass and I don't even want to use it because blah blah blah. So I was like, well, let's see what's on Game Pass. So I looked through and I just saw all the games that are on Game Pass that are like brand new. Like they have Don't Nods, Tell Me Why is on there. That's like a pretty new, like a game that just came out this month. Um,
Hmm.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps, all of the Halos, all of the Gears of War, all these games. And I mean, I knew that some of those were there. I knew like the Halos were going to be there and stuff, but I just didn't quite click that it was all accessible. Untitled Goose Game, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
So after seeing that and just biting me, I'm like I think, and I think I said to you, I'm like, after looking at that, I'm like, there's no reason not to have this if you can make it happen.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of eating at me, and I found a cheap-ish uh, Xbox One launch day um, on Facebook Marketplace, and someone who clearly didn't want it anymore. I mean, I basically stole it from them
I don't know
because,
about that.
well, okay, I didn't, but I mean, like, she put up a day one Xbox One with 12 games on there that a normal person would have probably spent $250 not looking at, but I ended up getting it for 150 because I didn't want any of the games. I just
Mhm.
wanted the box. Well, I bought one game, just I don't know, because I know once you get rid of the console, the games are going to be harder to sell. So I felt like I was doing her a favor or whatever. So I mean, it was dumb anyway. So I got So I got the Xbox and plugged it in. It works fine. The controller it came with is not the best one. Like the left trigger sticks every once in a while, and for some reason it's not working wirelessly. I mean, it is supposed to, but it's 6 years old. So I'm working on getting another one of that. I was trying to figure out how to use my DualShock 4, but it was going to have to do all this stuff. So I'm waiting until I get a paycheck or two to get another one. And not that they're all that expensive, but just I don't need to be spending all that kind of money. Anyway, so I finally broke down and got it. And it's really interesting to finally be an Xbox owner, especially since we haven't had one since the original Xbox. I know Dad owned a 360 that we played occasionally, but I never really had an Xbox. And never really cared to.
Actually, they're still the 360 is still sitting up there.
Oh, and it still works just fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Just no one plays it.
Yeah. But he doesn't want to get rid of it. But anyway, so and Dad has not disappointed. In terms of like that was the first thing I did. Oh, and I did end up getting Game Pass Ultimate. And the reason is because you can't play online if you don't have the Ultimate.
Are you playing anything online?
Well, there's ESO and there's Fallout 76, and eventually Destiny is going to be on there. So,
I mean, Destiny is the big one. That would be worth it. But other than that, like, I mean, the games you're going to talk about, I don't think any of them are online.
Well, no, but I mean, I'm going to test out Fallout, test out ESO and stuff like that. So, I would need those components. But I'll probably. I said I'll probably do it on a case by case, month by month basis. Right now, I'm looking at the stuff. Next month, I'll cancel and use the normal one. Especially,
did you get any deals on the Game Pass?
It was $1 for this month.
Okay.
So I went ahead and do that. I'll cancel and then get the $10 version. I don't know what you were gonna say.
I don't know. I mean, I forgot what I was going to say too. Other than the fact that I have used Game Pass. We talked about it earlier this year when I was all in on the Slay the Spire kick.
Well, I'm definitely not suggesting that. Well, this is the first time we're talking about Game Pass, but I definitely
but it's the first time we've had a modern, or you had I haven't played it because you're across the country, but either one of us have had a modern Xbox console. Are you adapting well to the wrong thumbstick pattern?
Yeah, so a couple of problems I've had with it so far, outside of the some of the jank, but like the lack of touchpad. There's no touchpad, so I'm constantly trying to figure out which one I'm supposed to press for what thing, because this the one on the left is kind of the share button, but it also does another thing, and the one on the right is kind of the pause button, but it also does certain things. So it's kind of like just figuring out where the menus are buried between. This honestly not all that complicated, but it's a little getting used to. And then of course there's the Xbox version as opposed to the PS button, Xbox button, which takes you home and stuff. What I find is that there's no rest mode, at least in this launch version of the Xbox.
So there's no way to suspend the game and then just come back to it later?
No. I just mean like, I don't know. Usually when I haven't tested that out yet. When I've
yeah, I mean,
when I've
it seems like there's got to be a way to do that.
Well, every time I've played, when I was done with it, I was done. Like, I just kind of, I guess I see what you're saying a little bit, like, because when you're done with the game on like Ghost of Tsushima, you could go and then just go in the rest mode and then
go in rest mode and come back.
I don't know. I'll see. I don't know if I closed out of the game I was playing last, so I'll check on that today. So that's a little interesting. The UI is super weird. It's something to get used to because the
Yeah.
games don't seem to be the first thing that it pops up. It like there's a home menu and then you can click to like my games and apps and there are like sections like that. There's a section for Game Pass, but there's a section for Game Pass to go get the games to download, but
Mhm.
you still have to go to back to my games to play. It's like there's the library and then there's your games and
Yeah.
stuff.
I
And
remember
I'm just
setting
so
up
used to cross media bar that
yeah.
this seems a little
I remember earlier this year or maybe into last year trying to set up an Xbox 360 for, David's, uh, stepson, uh, Gabe, and just trying to deal with all the different sliders, or the slides, um, trying to figure out which one has the games, and going into the
yeah.
menu and trying to like, can I do a reset on this system? And like, where do I put this stuff in? I just remember having, of course, that's probably a little bit of that's just not the system I'm used to. But I mean, I'm tech savvy, to a
Yeah.
degree, so
You know what to look
pretty
for
much
certain
I
things.
can pretty much figure out, UI elements, and that one was a difficult one to do.
Well,
I
and
haven't
what
really
was
I haven't played with the Xbox One and all, but I have used Game Pass as well as, Xbox on PC, and those apps are still a little like, when I go to Game Pass, there's, like, a specific page for Game Pass, and then there's different genres, but there's there's a few different weird
yeah.
sub-menus. I just want a list of the games that are on Game Pass,
Mhm.
and then it's hard to find out which games I've already, like, claimed or, my list of games. So there is
Mhm.
some UI elements along with the, Xbox,
Yeah,
branding that I think
and
need some finesse.
honestly, one of the things that was the hardest was trying to set up my own profile because the persons I bought it from, hers was still there. She didn't like clear it or anything.
Yeah.
And she mainly did that because there's like two games still on the system that she could use as selling points, like Skyrim and Stardew Valley. Um,
That's against
so
terms of service, and you're not allowed to do that because you're selling an account with it as well.
that didn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about. Um, wait, what's up?
So anyway,
So I ended up just creating like a third
yeah,
account, but it was frustrating because I couldn't find. It took me forever just to find that part of where you should lean over a
yeah,
little. It took me over just to find that part, and then I tried to find a way to
yeah,
delete their profile, and I couldn't figure that out either. So I was just like, whatever, it doesn't
yeah,
matter. I got it.
yeah. I had a similar problem with that Xbox 360 where it came with an account on it, and I needed to get rid of that account, and trying to erase it was kind of a hassle.
Yeah, yeah. So, but anyway, that's talking about the important. So, something that's also amusing in all of this is that the day before I decided to pick it up, I watched the Indie World event, which
Okay.
showcased a bunch of games, and I was going on thinking, well, like maybe I'll get a new game for the Switch because the last game on the Switch that I got was Streets of Rage 4, and I just really don't like it, and I really had a hard time with it, and so I went through and tried to because a lot of the games on the Indie World event came out that
Did you
day.
switch on that?
Hmm?
Uh, I thought you kinda liked it at first.
Well, I mean, I really like the visual style, and I think
Mhm.
there's some like aspects of the game that can be fun. But even when I turn it down to super easy or whatever, like I still can't get. I'm just not good at the game. I don't know.
Yeah,
It just doesn't do it for me. And like I got past this part that I was stuck at only to get stopped again right at the next level. So I was just like, I just not digging it. And the challenge is not interesting. That's the other thing. Like
sure.
if it was like Ghost of Tsushima, where I was having a hard time at the beginning of it, but I figured it out, like that was interesting. Whereas this, it didn't interest me to figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, so I had downloaded this demo for this game called Torchlight 2. And because in the Indie World event, they announced Torchlight 3.
Yeah.
And
Who's that made by?
One sec. I have recently just looked at it. Torchlight
Say that's I've
2.
heard of Torchlight before. I know it's a popular franchise. At least it's like a popular niche franchise.
So it is made by Runic Games or Panic Button Games. Runic and Panic
Okay.
Button are the developers. So I downloaded the demo for this game and I played it one night and instantly hooked. And
Yeah.
then the next day I got Game Pass and got all these games, but I've actually logged more time playing Torchlight than I have on any of the games I've played on Game Pass.
Oh, nice.
I got to tell you, this game, it was only $8 to buy. I played the demo and it was only $8 to buy the full thing. And this game has hooked in me so much. It's like
Is it?
so I'll explain it. So um it's basically a dungeon crawler. It's
Mhm.
a Diablo-like game.
Okay.
You have it's very simple. It's isometric, kind of cartoony. See, like I looked at the trailers, I watched gameplay of it. I'm like, this doesn't seem like to do anything. It looks like a little bit better version of like RuneScape, if you remember that game at all. I don't know if that was ever
Okay.
something you spent
No,
time
it's
with, but it was but like
I
RPG,
yeah.
very light RPG, social mechanics, blah blah blah. And so in Torchlight you have 4 classes. One's like a gunslinger, one's a like a witch, wizard, magic focused. Then you have like engineer and heavy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you just go around the map destroying things and looting. It's a looting game, and it's scratching in a way that Destiny itch that I haven't been doing anymore. But
Mhm.
the thing is, it is completely innocuous and not like what did I say? I said it instantly hooked. It's mindless. It's very mindless. It's like I'm just going around and pillaging this dungeon. But I don't care about it. But I'm just really loving this what do you call it? The gameplay loop of killing things, getting better gear, throwing it on, and doing it. But it's the reason I'm so perplexed by it is that like I've looked at games like Diablo, and I'm just like, there's something about it that doesn't seem like a game for me. But now that I've played this, I'm like, I wonder if I would like Diablo. Um,
Yeah.
because it's just so anyway, so I mean there's a story there. It's like it's just another oh, it's a little high fantasy with some like machine guns thrown in there, but it's um like this is all powerful being that's coming to the earth that's about to destroy this big city, and you've got to go stop it. But really half the time you're saving someone from these monsters, you're saving someone from these guys, whatever.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
not very and that's not important.
Okay.
And there's not like I mean it's not a games as a service kind of game, of course. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
self-contained. You don't um I mean there's multiplayer aspects of it, but I have not played with anyone. I've just done it purely myself. Um and like they're like it's just scratches. I mean, it's like it's all really generic looking, to be honest with you, which is why I'm so
Yeah.
perplexed by it. It's like, well, I mean, the combat, sure, it feels nice, um, but I'm using the same like 4 abilities that I got at the beginning of the game, and I improve them and stuff like that, and you can get different kinds of those abilities. But
Yeah.
however, I looked up how long to beat, and it's probably like a 25-hour game, and about 14 hours in.
Oh wow.
And yeah. So, and I got this like a week ago, if not, maybe not even that long. So, like basically, it's
Hmm.
my bedtime. It's like right before bed game. I'll just play that. And if I'm
And
doing
this is on
something
the
else,
Switch.
yeah, I got it on the Switch. And it's a perfect Switch game. Um, I am getting a little bit of a burnout factor, as I'm getting there, and I'm
Are
noticing
you
things being. harder and harder to acquire. That it's becoming a little bit less fun and a little bit too repetitive. Um,
Yeah.
I just like because I just opened another huge map that I'm supposed to explore. That's going to do everything that I just did, but just with a different environment. Like, oh, that one was a icy environment, but now you're in a deserty environment. Now you're in like this grimy environment. And I get that that's what the variety is supposed to be, but
Yeah.
the mechanics aren't really changing, and that's what's going to be the problem for me is if this last world I'm in, I think I'm in the last section, doesn't
Hmm.
change the variety. So we'll
Yeah.
see. I would love to play. It does seem like a co-op game. Like I would love, like if you had a Switch to be like team up and we go tackle this dungeon.
Can't find one
Um,
anywhere.
I know, and that's another thing with this was like I couldn't find a unused Xbox One that was um, cheap enough to buy, like
Yeah.
a sad edition or whatever. Anyway, so I really liked
Cool.
Torchlight 2. I'll um, let you know more as I go. I've only played as one character, so I think another aspect of it will be playing as some of the different characters, see which one I like best. Um,
I was gonna be like, how can you get into a game that's mindless, that doesn't like drive you to go further on, but then you hit on the gameplay loop, and it's like that's just Slay the Spire. Like I don't care
yeah,
about there's tiers and there's levels, and it's like, yeah, I don't care about that. I don't really care about the character I'm playing as. It's just fun to try to get further and further and further, and try to get a better card to do better next round, and try to get a better card to do better next round, regardless of what it is. So,
yeah.
in that aspect, it totally makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and something that I thought was kind of interesting that like I'm like maybe I'm better at this game than I thought it was because um I could not find in a game like this you have vendor potions and stuff like that and
Mhm.
runes and weapons and stuff. I could not find the vendor who sold potions. So for almost like 10 hours of this game, I didn't think you could buy potions. I thought you could only get potions by um picking them up from enemies that you defeated, but only the hard enemies. Like, there's, certain things only drop with certain kinds of enemies.
Yeah.
I only thought it happened when you found chests, certain chests and stuff. And so I've played a lot of this game not having any potions and having to figure out how to like tackle this huge dungeon without dying. And there's like the way the death works. It's like it costs money it costs money if you want to respawn where you are, and then it costs a
Mhm.
little less money if you want to respawn at the beginning of it, and then it costs no money if you respawn all the way back into town. But the way to get around that is that you have one of your items you have is a waypoint finder, which is a waypoint portal. So over time, you can drop portals that you can access from town, um,
Mhm.
and it'll just pop you back on it. But there's limited amounts, and so you have to know where it's going to be. So if I've decided I've spent a lot of time in a dungeon and I'm not getting out anytime soon, then I should probably drop a waypoint. So if I die, I don't have to waste any money. But I mean, there's a lot. I mean, in 14 hours, I've died like 23 times, and I feel like the that ratio is a pretty good one. I
Mhm.
don't know if that's high or low, but I think
I don't
for me,
I couldn't
I
tell you.
think. But um, but yeah, so I'll keep you updated on that if I finish it or not. The only problem I'll see, like I said, is if it gets too repetitive, or like if difficulty ramps up. Because I got very into games like The Messenger. I
Yeah.
mean, very different kinds of games, but I just mean like I'll get fixated, like this is the game I need, and then all of a sudden I'm not interested anymore. Same thing happened with Ori and the Blind Forest. Is that I got into it, and I was like, oh yes, 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 and then it just kind of dropped. And
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because of how quickly I try to get through them. So I might try to back away a little bit. I don't know.
Not to totally derail the conversation, but as you're talking, I'm noticing, you have the black TV behind you, and your hair is pretty, you need a haircut. You're kinda looking a little bit like, Joe Dirt with dark hair. because the black TV behind you, you can't tell that your hair is not longer, so it kind of looks like you could have a mullet. Because the top of your hair definitely looks like Joe Dirt, and then it could just keep going.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't. I mean, it does, but it
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah. Sorry, I totally derailed the conversation, but I just couldn't unsee it, so I needed to share.
All right, well, I'll lean this way.
Yeah. So, well, that's really
So yeah,
cool. I'm glad you found something different to get into.
I just find it
You brought up
amusing
the
that
continue.
I just find it amusing that I went all through the struggle to get Game Pass, and now I'm playing a game on my Switch more than I'm playing on a game on Game Pass.
Yeah.
But
You brought up
go
the
ahead.
Messenger, and I didn't put it in the itinerary, but I did get further in the Messenger. I got to like a point that was awesome. I thought it was super clever what it did.
Mhm.
Where you got to open the cabinet. Have you gotten that far?
Oh no, you must be further than I am. I have not opened the cabinet.
Oh, you get to open the cabinet, and it's great. And
Oh
but
wow.
after that, it totally changes the type of game it is.
Oh really?
Like it goes from just being a standard like Ninja Gaiden to like a spoiler alert for a Messenger, a 2-3-year-old game. It turns into like a Metroidvania.
Oh really? That's weird.
Like you get a world map, you get like you have to go in and out of different portals. You're going back and forth in time. Like
Oh
it's
wow.
really neat.
Now do
I have a
you have
visitor.
to? Oh, hey buddy. I'm guessing you end up having to open the door, the cabinet, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil what's in the cabinet.
Well, no, but
But yeah.
yeah. Well, that's awesome. No,
But
I
what I
think
don't know is how much more of this game there is, because I thought we were done. And if it ended where I thought it was going to end, I thought it was going to be like a beautiful, like beautiful in the sense of just super like on the nose kind of ending. Like, oh, that would be perfect. But it didn't quite end there, which and I kind of stopped right after that. So I'm not sure how much further the game goes.
yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, I love that game for the most of it. But again, I hit a wall that I was not interested in passing, and I was
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm out. And there's something to be said about like once you're done with the game, you're done with the game, no matter if you've beaten it or not.
Yeah, that's
But I
true.
hate that unfinished feeling. Um,
I have a lot
especially
of
when I
games that are
can.
unfinished.
Well, especially when I can 100% in a game like Ghost of Tsushima, um, and then come around to another game that I really love, but then just fall off to it.
Yeah.
Um, another game. So if like the game I am playing on Game Pass, I downloaded stuff. Blah, blah, blah. I downloaded the Master Chief Collection. I downloaded Fable. I downloaded Fable and Mass Effect, even though I don't know if I'll be getting around to Mass Effect. But and
I
a
would
new
honestly
game.
just hold off on Mass Effect because I am sure we're going to hear about
Yeah,
some kind of remaster at some point.
I downloaded so many games. Also, I didn't. I
Yeah.
thought you could stream from them, and I don't notice anyone that you can stream from.
No,
They're
there's
all
no streaming. Game Pass is only download.
okay.
You only
I,
stream. You can. You'll be able to stream your Game Pass games from XCloud
gotcha.
because you won't be able to
Um,
download those to your phone or whatever. But
yeah, I there's that new Obsidian game called Grounded that's in preview right now, and I downloaded that. I haven't played that yet. But there's a new game. I think it's new. I don't know how new. A game that was just announced at the Indie World event, coming to Switch that day. And then I found on Xbox Game Pass called Spiritfarer. And this game, it doesn't quite have its hooks in me the way Torchlight would, but I think if I wasn't playing Torchlight, if I didn't find Torchlight, I would be super into this game. I
yeah,
don't. Are you familiar with it at all?
no,
I mean, have you even looked at it?
nope.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, I saw the image on the Game Pass, but I just haven't
Oh,
looked it
so
up.
Spiritfarer, you play this girl named Stella and her cat who have become, by some reason, the new person who takes souls to the afterlife. Um, so
Okay.
you um, so you
You're
are
a
the
squirrel?
huh?
You're a squirrel?
No, you play a little girl. You
A
play
little
this.
girl.
I say you play this girl.
I thought you said you play the squirrel with a
Oh, no,
cat.
no, no.
I'm like,
No. You play this
okay,
girl.
okay.
You play this girl named Stella and her cat, and you both are essentially
Because my
captains of
immediate
a
my immediate picture was uh Animaniacs with the old with Granny.
Yeah, that's hilarious. No, no, it
I was
would be
like,
fun if it
a
was a squirrel.
squirrel. I was like, what kind of squirrel owns a cat? I'm like, well, I'm sure Granny had a cat. And
No,
okay, the girl
so
with a cat, she's found out
she
that
gets
she's got to ferry the spirits from.
yeah, to the afterlife. And
Okay.
you come across these souls that all, at least so far, seem to be some sort of relatives to the girl.
Hmm.
You're captain of the ship, and everything. It's like it's a weird amalgamation of job simulator, of
Hmm.
The Sims, of Farmville. It's a weird amalgamation and like platforming. It's like there's no combat in the game. You don't fight anything. It's open world. It's open world in the sense of like there's this map that you get to explore while you're on the ship, but for all intents and purposes, you are on this 2D plane, hopping around and doing this stuff. You build buildings onto your ship to help satisfy the needs of the spirits that you're shepherding to and from the
Hmm.
or to the afterlife. And while they're with you, you have to keep them happy. And so there's relationship aspects to it where, like, oh, have you talked to them? Have you give them a hug? You give them food. You
Hmm.
have to make food, and you have to find out what kind of food that they like the most, and then
Yeah.
make sure you have that with them and give that to them. And then there's gardens that you grow, and then there's wood that you like. It's this whole simulator, and it's so weird that these things are all on a ship that you're ferrying to tell these souls that they get to go to wherever. Um,
Hmm.
and the environments all varied and all change what you do in the game. So you can fish off the back of your boat, but if you sail through a thunderstorm, you can catch different kinds of fish, and also you can catch lightning in a bottle, which helps you do other things, which gives you experience points to do other things.
Hmm.
It's gamified this entire thing, and it doesn't. The reason it doesn't have its hooks quite in me yet, of course, like Torchlight, it's the gameplay loop of getting the new thing and upgrading, whereas this one's a little bit more lengthy in terms of the process of what you have to do, and it's a lot more calm. Um,
Yeah.
and it's totally a game. I think someone like I mean, not that other guys or whatever wouldn't like this, but like it's a mom kind of game. I think
Okay.
because it's simulating all these things, and you got to do this, but it's also stress free. So it's not like if I leave something in the oven and then go to sleep, it's not going to be burnt when I wake up. Like it doesn't
Okay.
penalize you for anything. So it's a really calm experience, and it's kind of sad because you're ferrying these souls that talk to you, and they're like, oh well, I
Yeah.
didn't get to do this, and but it's also delightful and like it's funny and it's super bizarre. So I don't know
Hmm.
if there's like an end to the game or if it's like constantly like I don't know what like if there's an
I was gonna
overarching
say,
story.
does it feel like it's building to anything or?
Not yet. Well, I'm still kind of in the more or less tutorial phase of the game. I'm probably a few hours into it, but like my ship's not up and running yet, and to the degree that it needs to be. Like I have to find these materials to build a new thing that'll make um the spirit happier, and I haven't figured all that out yet. But it's definitely really interesting, and I recommend giving it a shot just to see if
Mhm.
it's your cup of tea. I play it in small increments, and also like because there's not really a whole lot going on, and you're reading most of it. I put a podcast on, or like the other day I played that and had Silver Sun pickups going,
Yeah.
and just stuff like that. So it looks like you're getting a little sleepy there, Josh.
Yeah,
I
well,
know
it's
the
getting a little
dulcet
late. I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
the dulcet tones of
But
my voice. Um, why don't you tell me about
midnight.
Flight Simulator? Because you've been
Well,
playing that, haven't you?
well, I so I do have Game Pass on PC, and I did download Flight Simulator 2020 because everybody's talking about it. It looks incredible on YouTube. Um, it was 128 gigabyte download.
Oof.
Yeah, huge game. Um, and Xander, my nephew was down here. Our nephew was down here, and I was like, "Let's go for a flight." And I booted up. My computer's not super beefy. It was kind of, I thought it was
Mhm.
kind of good. But it was I was like, let's just go medium and see where it goes. It looked bad. It played bad. I
Oh
was
no.
very disappointed. The cockpit actually itself looked good, but like I loaded up Standiford Field, the Louisville Airport,
Hmm.
and it looked like it just didn't look good. Um,
Mm.
and I the control scheme on the keyboard was just not. It didn't make any sense. They had the rudder pedals like crossed, like the default keyboard setting had the rudder pedals on the enter key and the 0 key.
What?
And
Okay.
and if you look at my keyboard, so you have the enter key and the 0 key,
Oh,
but they were. I guess the intent is for you to use those. Now that I think about it,
yeah.
but either way, like it just didn't feel right. So I've had to go there and remap everything, and I've made some changes to try to make it look decent because, like, I pushed the limits. I don't want to fry this computer because it's the only one I have, and
Yeah.
so I pushed it a little bit graphically, um, and it can get pretty good looking. Um, like I was flying. There's an airport near our house. I found.
Hmm.
Um, and it was clearly that was it. It was kind of neat. There is the ability to like find your house,
Oh wow.
uh,
Yeah.
because it just uses Bing World,
Yeah.
and it's really cool. It's got a lot of neat features. My computer just can't handle it, and
Now,
it's
can you use the
disappointing.
controller, or do you have to use keyboard?
No, well there are a few different controlling options. I wanted a more realistic experience, so I wanted to be able to like tweak different things but it's really hard. I think it's just really difficult to do on a keyboard, and I'm not sure exactly what a pilot when they load up this thing. I'm sure everybody's got the $1,000 yoke and pedal keys and that kind of
Light
stuff.
stick and stuff.
Um, but I don't know like how they set everything up because there are things that you just need to do. Like you can't just look around the 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 plane with the arrow keys. Like the arrow keys like change your camera like this
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the cockpit, and you're not necessarily looking around. And the only way for me to do that is to hold the key or hold the control key and look around.
Oh, yeah, that's complicated.
Yeah, but while you're also like dealing with like flying straight and level, dealing with like rudder inputs and aileron inputs. So I'm not exactly sure what the proper pilot setup. It's probably not on a keyboard.
Yeah, they probably have the
Um,
giant thing, but
and like I don't know how you would be able to like there's only one mouse, so I can't like pull on the yoke and press like a rudder and put in power.
yeah.
So there's that now. So I haven't been able to play with it enough, and it just doesn't look good enough at the moment for me to like try to put a lot of time into it.
Right.
I don't know if I'll eventually like upgrade components to see if I can get it running fairly good. Because I think it looks great, and I think it would be a great tool for me to like get into it,
Practice. Yeah.
a plane and just get all my systems going again. Going through the checklists and learning different planes and newer planes. I could pull up checklists and go through like a brand new CRJ or something, or a citation, and it'd be kind of neat to
Yeah.
follow systems to starting a jet engine, which I haven't flown any jets, so what do I got to do to prime those engines and things like that.
Yeah.
Um,
That sounds like really awesome that it has the ability to do those things. And
well,
like, and of course, if you had the
and
money
flight
to
sims
invest.
have always had that ability. Not always, but they are good tools for that. But as far as like fidelity goes, I think there's no question that this is the highest fidelity we've seen,
Yeah.
which makes sense. But it's more than just like the best one they've ever done. It's like it's an incredible feat of engineering and being able to literally land at just any airport and have it practically just geo mapped to where you're at. And I can't wait to see what they do when they input like a VR support, because they've
Yeah.
already talked about VR support's coming. So like using like the Oculus Rift or something, which I don't have, but just I want to know how that, if you could use that and the things, if I can sit in a cockpit and reach down and and actually pull the levers and flip the switches and things like that, how 1-to-1 that would be
Yeah.
with that, and be able to look around and have a headset on and get on a server and make calls with someone running a like a actual there's servers in Microsoft Flight Simulator where you have to taxi, you have to call and do ATC callbacks and things like that. I'd like to see that in a VR system where I could get on and just practice bizarre like radio calls, or trying to get in and out of like O'Hare or JFK that's
Yeah.
got like a 45 plane lineup, and things like that would be kind of neat.
Yeah. That'd be really cool. Um.
Um, and then otherwise, I've been playing. What else have I been playing? Playing more Call of Duty. I don't know
Oh
if I
yeah.
mentioned on here
No,
before.
yeah, I don't think you
Uh,
have.
I don't think I have, but I turned on Call after platinuming Ghost of Tsushima, and now waiting for the update. The DLC for Ghost of Tsushima that's going to be coming later this year,
Yeah.
which I'm super stoked for. I wanted something a little different, something a little more popcorny.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to be super invested in. I'm not trying to like be super invested. I kind of want to watch a movie,
Yeah.
so I turned on Call of Duty, which is what they're good for. And I'm playing World War II because I never got around to doing that. And one of my first introduction into first person shooters was Medal of Honor Frontline,
Yeah.
which many of those developers went on to create Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So it was kind of neat going back to a World War II setting and a higher fidelity. Um, I'm kind of like on it. Like I think it's fine. It's a little cheesy. It's a little generic.
Mhm.
I think the storming the beach could have been a lot better.
Did you
I thought
die
it
a
was
lot?
no, it
Oh,
was
no,
really
see, I
easy.
died a ridiculous amount on the beach.
No, I died once on the beach, and then I realized what they wanted me to do, and I did it. And then I died once after I blew the bank, because
Mhm.
like you blow the bank, and then it's just sits you in front of people shooting at you. I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And then I was dead. But
Yeah.
other than that, like, um, I think it's okay. I mean, I'm probably going to finish it out just because it's Call of Duty. It's not going to take forever. Um, I think some of the characters are a little annoying. Um, Pierce is the one military dude from Transformers. Uh,
Oh, Yeah, Josh Hartnett.
Is that his name? It's just the main guy from the main military guy from Transformers.
I don't know. I have to look.
I mean, he's a known actor. So I'm like, oh, I know you, and everybody else. It's weird having a voice, which I don't know why, but I think I've played a whole lot of first person shooters that haven't had a voice. That hearing me talk or the character talk is weird when you can't see the
Josh
character.
Duhamel.
Okay.
Duhamel?
Du hast mich?
No, no, I thought it was the guy was name's Josh Hartnett. Anyway.
No, I was gonna say Josh Hartnett. No, that was 30 Days a Night, and
No.
anyway, I think it's totally fine. I heard a lot of good things that about it at the time, and I'm not seeing like it's not blowing my skirt up or like my expectations out of the water. I didn't have high expectations. I just wanted a fun World War II shooter. It does some. There's some. Have you played it?
I played maybe like an hour's worth.
Okay. It gets into some stealth elements, which are kind of neat, but they don't really commit to it, and they don't make it like make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
There was a couple times I had to turn down, I turned down the difficulty because like things were just not lining up right, and it was I don't know, the fail states I was getting just seemed off, so I had to drop difficulty just to get past this one part, and I don't even remember what it was. It was just like this barrage or something.
Yeah. See, I mean, I feel very similarly because I played a little bit. I died a lot more, but I just like I mean, like you said, I like pretty much the same beat. Like I remember feeling like, oh, it's kind of neat seeing a more clearer version of this world that I remember playing, like Frontline and stuff like that. But honestly, I don't um like I have no drive to continue it. And see, and you turning to that for your like kind of not deep game is kind of how I ended up turning to like Torchlight and this because I tried looking at games like Life is Strange 2. I played the first episode of that and I really liked it. But it's just a little too I need to be invested too much into it. And then the same thing with After Party. I tried After Party. I don't really I mean I like the people who put the game together and the actors who are in it. I don't really care about this game at all, and I don't care to be invested. So, but it's interesting that you went to World War II because it just feels like a game you might need to be more invested in.
I mean, World War II is a heavy moment. There was some like brutal scene imagery.
Just curious,
huh?
Why was World War II so important?
What?
Well, you said
you froze for a second, so I was confused.
Oh no, I said why was World War II so important? Because you had said it doesn't matter.
Why was that a question? I was confused. I was saying, I mean, World War II has heavy elements, obviously.
Oh, and I was gonna be like, well, why? Oh, that's what I said. I was like, well, why is that? Why did they have heavy moments? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I thought you were because I also said it was brutal, and then I heard what was that? I was like, you want me to tell you the part where the guy was blown in half? Like,
no,
like there's a few like Braveheart like gory moments, and I like the film grain effect, like especially in some of the cutscenes that like it's got that old style to it, and it feels like they're talking. The dialogue's still a little iffy, but there were a couple really cool scenes when like you walk through and you're pushing forward, and then the planes come through, and they like all the guys in your battalion or platoon or whatever are like cheering for them, and just trying to put yourself in that situation. Like even though it's a little like cheesy, some of the dialogue, listening to him think about like we've got to retake from these from the Nazis, and trying to imagine being in that situation as like a 19, 20-year-old, like retaking France from the Nazi Germany, and hearing them talk about the Krauts, and calling some of them being very disparaging to the Germans. There's one time you pass like this Humvee, and so, hey, look, there's some barbecue, or someone turned on the barbecue, and one of the guys was like, hey man, that's someone's kid. Like that was someone's kid, and they're like, yeah, but they're Krauts. You're like, well, they're not all bad. Some of them are just soldiers that are. So I thought it was an interesting like conversation there. Like some of these guys are just there because they literally can't do anything else, or they're gonna die, and they were going to die one way or the other. I thought it was an interesting commentary, and kind of a generic World War II story that they actually put some of that in there. I thought that was neat.
Yeah.
Uh,
I haven't gotten far enough in there to get much out of the story, but it's good that I'm glad that you're getting something out of it.
Yeah.
So Josh, I have one final question for you. That's a big question.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have done this like maybe a month ago. We're almost hitting, but so far, what do you think your game of the year is? We talked about our Call of Duties, we talked about our War Zones and our Torchlights and our whatever,
Did
but
we talk about Warzone?
I've talked about it on other episodes, I think. But um, but I'm curious, Josh, if you, I know your answer to it.
Yeah.
But so far, we have 3 significant games that have come out this year.
That was the weird thing about talking about like game of the year so far is there are more than 3 games that came out this year, but there are not more than 3 big games that came out this year that interest probably either of us. Animal Crossing is not our jam. Doom Eternal, like I dipped my toes in the original Doom, or Doom 2016, and I thought it was fun, but there was no way Doom Eternal is going to come out and beat my game of the year. A lot of the games that might have been in the conversation, like Avengers or Cyberpunk 2077, that were supposed to come out the first half of the year, did not end up coming out the first half of the year. So that limited the big releases to what else did Nintendo put out? They've put out Animal Crossing and Paper Mario. Sony's got 3 games. Microsoft hasn't put out a game.
Yeah.
Have they put out a game this year?
Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps. That's right.
That's at least one, and Gears Tactics.
I feel like they got I feel like there has to have been one big game Microsoft has released.
Maybe Forza.
No. As much crap as I hear about Nintendo not releasing anything, Microsoft doesn't have anything. Maybe we're just not objective.
You keep talking,
there.
and
so my game of the year is without a doubt so far Ghost of Tsushima. I think for all the reasons I've said before, it's the best version of the early Assassin's Creed games, basically up to about Assassin's Creed 3 or 4, 3 or Black Flag. It doesn't have any of the ship, elements to it, but as far as that early, stealth, assassinating, jumping from the roof, jumping from rooftops, trying to, the sword play, the atmosphere, was very much Assassin's Creed. That even had like poison darts and things like that. A lot of it acted just like early Assassin's Creed, but they polished it up to such a degree that that has made it incredible to me. I think visually it was stunning. The photo mode was fantastic. I think I think the fact that they had the Japanese voice track was great. I played it entirely in Japanese. I felt a connection all the way through with Jin and the supporting cast of characters. I really enjoyed learning all about Lady Masako and Norio and even Ryuzu and hearing his motivations, and I think they were all fascinating. I think probably the least fascinating was the main villain until you actually read through the artifacts and read through the reports, and I think that made Koten actually a lot more interesting because
Really?
because Koten was actually very interested in the Japanese culture, and he wanted to compel the Japanese to join the Mongol Empire. They were being very ugly and not good about it.
Yeah.
But they wanted them to join to end the violence. Like he would have.
Mhm.
That's why you saw in some of the instances where he treated some of his prisoners well. Now, historically, he treated a lot of prisoners awful, and like sailing from Tsushima to the mainland, like they would take women and children and tie them to the boats.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, not good people. So I don't have any sympathy for him, but I think as a character building, I think they didn't do as good a job in the story, giving us compelling reasons to, see
Mhm.
where this guy was coming from. But in the actual like collectibles, it
Yeah.
told a better story because basically it was through the eyes of a Japanese scribe that he had captured, and it was like he was chronicling his interactions with the Khan,
Oh, that's really interesting.
and it starts off with like translate. He was translating for the Khan, teaching him things, and by the end of it, the uh, the scribe is on Koten's side, and
Mm.
he's upset when the Khan dies. Spoilers for Ghost of Tsushima, they win. Like,
Yeah.
uh, he is upset that the Khan is killed, and he doesn't understand why no one sees the Khan's generosity,
Yeah.
and it's this bizarre like uh um the syndrome
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome that you see. It's not like super um obvious, but I
Sure.
mean it's clear at the end that he's like on the side of the Khan.
Mhm.
But he
So for
was
you,
initially a prisoner. So yeah, for me, easily Ghost of Tsushima, followed by Final Fantasy VII remake. I think that came out and surprised everybody. It didn't seem like it was going to be great from the announcement of it. We always wanted a remake for Final Fantasy VII. Big fans of the original,
mm,
or people who didn't really get to play the original but learned all about it and wanted to see what happened in a
yeah.
more on higher fidelity. Um, all the lead up to it about how they weren't going to do turn based anymore, or they were going to change it from the original turn based, and the development of it had to be taken back from it. They originally had handed it off to another developer, and then they had to take it back from that developer and bring it in house. When they announced it, they announced the director, and he didn't even know he was the director of it before they announced it.
Mm,
So
yeah.
Nomura didn't realize because he was still doing production towards like Kingdom Hearts and other things he was working on, and
Yeah.
they just like, oh yeah, and you're going to be this guy, and so he took over production because he was working with the original director of Final Fantasy VII,
Mhm.
and he thought he was just helping him when that guy was like, "No, you're leading."
Yeah, yeah. That's really
uh,
interesting.
so the whole build up to it was interesting, and how they were going to split the original game up in 3 parts. It didn't make any into episodes. It didn't make any sense why they were going to do that when they originally made it into one game,
Right.
and the whole game was going to be just the Midgar section, which was like 5 hours of the original 60-hour game. So it just
Yeah.
seemed bizarre how they were going to do it, and I think it came out and really, for the most part, blew everybody away about just how strong the quality of the game was. The voice acting was great. The modernization of some of the older elements of it that probably wouldn't have gone over as well today. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
there's a bathhouse scene that gets pretty rapey, and
Yeah,
uh,
there's a lot of
j-
things in there.
there's a lot of problematic things that I thought modernized very well. Uh, and so overall, and I have issues with the ending of that game, but I appreciate what they're doing and the new things they
Mhm.
added, and some of the theories that have spawned out of the conversation of what they've added. So I think that has been
Yeah.
probably the biggest surprise of the year. Ghost. I'll let you talk. Ghost to me wasn't as big a surprise. I was excited from it as soon as they announced it, because
Yeah.
I've always wanted a game in this time frame of this feudal Japan, of this culture. Because I've always been interested
Mhm.
in the culture, so I've always wanted to see someone tackle this type of game, samurai sword fighting, katana style game. So I've always been excited about this. It wasn't a surprise, but I'm pleased that that one
Mhm.
is my game of the year so far, and uh, Final Fantasy VII for being the surprise.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII was a surprise. I mean, especially as someone who has no interest. I mean, not no interest, but I'm that category of people who know about it. Like, I love it as an idea. I have no relationship to any of these characters,
Yeah,
so for that to be my foray into the game, um, I um, I really loved it. And I'm trying to think. All these games we've played in quarantine. Um, I think, yeah, because Final Fantasy came out in April,
April.
uh,
Yeah,
and then The Last of Us came out in June, and Final Fantasy came out. Ghost came out in July. So it's a really interesting context to approach all of these games with. And when Final Fantasy being the first one in the lineup, it's um, I remember, and I know I feel like I say a lot this about a few of the games, especially with Ghost and Final Fantasy. How at the beginning I was really not enjoying my time, or at least specifically with Final Fantasy, I was really not enjoying my time. Like, I almost stopped playing because I just couldn't. The gameplay didn't click with me. The active time battle system and moving
yeah,
around and all that stuff. But once it did, you feel so powerful, and you feel so like, or not just powerful, but you feel like you understand the how it's working. Same
yeah,
thing with Ghosts, where it's trying to teach you how to use these different sword stances and make you think on your feet and be adaptive to new scenarios. At first was really hard to do, and then it gets better. I think. Um, I think. It's interesting because I don't. My game of the year is not the game I want. And it's the only one that you've not mentioned so far, is The Last
yeah,
of Us Part 2. And based off our previous our conversations, both on our spoiler cast and
yeah,
personally, I totally get why this is the why. I mean, and it's not even your second favorite, um, or second game of the year, um, so far. But for me, um, and it feels really. Every time I say this, I feel like I'm being like egotistical or artsy or whatever. And I'm not really trying to be. I just feel like um that game that game um introduced to me a completely new way of how to tell a story, both in interactive media and in um stories in general. And I mean, you could say something similar about Life is Strange, which is a game that I love to death and stuff like that. Um, um, but like Life is Strange is about choices that you make, or
Hmm.
um, choices you don't know you make, or Mass Effect's about choices that like you're making the best choice, but these are the casualties around it. Whereas this game, Last of Us, is not a game about choices you're making. It's about choices that characters are making that you have no control over. I mean, like you can't help but
Yeah.
make. Um, and so, I mean,
Yeah.
from a story perspective and its impression on me that way, that's why it's my favorite so far. Not on top of just I mean, Ghost of Tsushima looks beautiful. By far, like the world, the color, and it's, how much I want to explore it. But the level of detail and the polish in The Last of Us, the subtle hand movements and the animations and the cutscenes between the characters, and like, we talked about the kissing, how the kissing looks like they're kissing. It's not like a weird, oh, let's cut away
Yeah.
a little bit while their heads are together. Um, and of course the pain that you feel and all the stuff, but the way the sound design is implemented so
Hmm.
well into it. Now, I will agree with the point that you made a couple weeks ago that like I mean, I agree that maybe the music isn't as standout as it was in the first game. Honestly, because it's very much the same, and I think that's part of the reason why. But I couldn't go back and like anything I think about The Last of Us, I still, and music wise, I still think of The Last of Us that I've listened to for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Um, so, but like on every like for me on every level, like pillars of game development, like I feel like it just pushed those so well that
Yeah.
I have a hard time saying that it's not game of the year.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that is why The Last of Us Part 2 is game of the year. The reason I said at the very beginning is that it's not necessarily a game I want to go back into, is 'cause, I mean, besides the fact it's depressing as shit, it's like now that I know where the story is going,
Yeah.
I have no interest, or now that I know what happened, I have no interest in like the other stuff didn't matter to me. It didn't matter as much. Like the gameplay was fun and I enjoyed the combat and I enjoyed those, but like
Yeah.
that's not a story I need to retread. Whereas going into Ghost of Tsushima, it's the new ways you fight
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
I want to chime in again on that's the most important thing about The Last of Us is I don't think it's not my game of the year because I hate it. I don't hate it. I think it is one of the most important games probably ever made. The fact that even though it's not my game of the year, I can't help but want to talk about it.
mhm,
And because I get what it's doing, I think there is a world I think there's a way that game exactly like with the content in the game, I think there's a way they could have presented it that would make it my game of the year. I just feel like the way it was presented really hindered it being my game of the year.
yeah,
I think because when I think about it, my favorite parts of that game are the first half of that game.
mhm,
And I don't really want to spoil it here, but like really the first half of that game, I had a good time with it. I enjoyed playing. I enjoyed learning the relationship between Ellie and Dina. This like love blossoming, like whether Ellie, reading in her journal whether she really wants to get into this. She doesn't want to ruin their friendship, and she
yeah,
doesn't want to read too much into Dina being silly or whatever. Um, and I mean, I was pretty much fine with the first half of the game. I just really struggled with the changes and some of the things they were doing and the way
mhm,
they did the second half of the game.
yeah,
Um, I've listened to the spoiler casts with with the actors and Neil Druckmann, um, and I think for what they put out, The Last of Us or the original Last of Us was probably one of the most important games ever made as well. As far as we can tell real human and real zombie
yeah,
stories that have weight and acting in them. It's not all Pulp Fiction. It's not, Uncharted is great, but there's some, emotional moments and there's some happy
Yeah.
moments, but it's really just a fun popcorn
Yeah.
flick where it's like The Last of Us showed we could tell a real story, and Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, they can act as good or better than what you're seeing in the movies.
Yeah.
And this carried that as well, and said that we not only can make real human stories, is we can tell them in a way that you weren't expecting, and we can do things that are going to make you have a conversation. And you may not like what happens, but it's important that we can have this too. It's
Yeah.
important that Game of Thrones exists, even if you don't exactly enjoy. You don't like that Sean Bean died in the first season. Guess what?
Yeah.
Sean Bean dies and everything, so I can spoil that.
Right.
But like
Well, yeah.
so knowing that George R. Martin kills his protagonist is important. That it may not be the best stories in the world, or you may not agree with it, but those exist to push a medium forward as well. And
Yeah.
having this story, I think, does that as well. It just, for me, it misses on too many points for it to hit my game of the year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just say you mean my argument for me better than I like. I mean, those are all the things. I mean, I just I think going just wrapping that point up. Like when you like zoom out and just look at what has pushed the most this year in terms of what games can be, it's The Last of Us Part 2, and I think that's why it qualifies the game of the year.
Yeah,
Uh, Ghost of Tsushima is my second, for all the reasons you said and more. You know,
yeah,
it. I've said this, and I know it sounds derogatory, and when I'm talking to like coworkers about it, like it is very much a video game.
yeah,
All of the things you love about video games, um, and like the exploratory nature of them, the singular foe, but the really good storytelling in the process, and the environmental storytelling, and the visual cues, and the beauty of the world, and the
yeah,
needless exploration. Like all of those is like excelled, and I think to put it even like more specifically, like if this like is so much a video game, it does everything that video open world action adventure video games have done. Like this game is the one that perfected it, um, for me. Um,
yeah,
well, even though there's still some things I would like to be better, and
yeah.
like
It is not a perfect
like,
game.
as a package, as a package. Like, of course, there's like, oh well, Zelda did this thing better, and this does this thing better. But like,
Yeah,
as a cohesive entertainment, like it's so uniquely good, and it's more fun than it deserves to be. Like, there's no reason it should be as
yeah.
fun as it is. I mean, there is, but it's like, I mean, the same. Like, sure, the combat can be repetitive, but every scenario is different, and you can
It's
decide.
like Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah,
Honestly, it's like
exactly. It's Spider-Man. Yeah,
you can have similar encounters over and over and over again, but you can go at them in different ways, and it feels satisfying every time you do.
yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
Even playing the game after I've 100%ed it, and I walk up to a group of guys and I want to just do things a different way. I want to like try to pick a couple off before I get up there and poison one, and try to do different loadouts. But one thing's fun to do is like there's a load where you can not only make guys hallucinate with the dart, but you can make it last longer. You can
mhm,
make them be more aggressive and make them do more damage with just by putting different charms on. And so you can have like one of the beefy guys, you could shoot a leader and they can like clear the town because they one's hit kill everybody. And then you
yeah,
just come in and chop his head off. And it's like
yeah.
so great. Um I
And I
thought
think the way
I thought real quick, I thought some of the storytelling elements were spot on, not spot on, but like the fact that some of them just felt like little vignettes, little episodes. Like they had like a title card when you started a new like a side quest, and then it ended, and it was like the end of like a 20-minute episode of something
I
like
thought the
a
exact
quick,
same thing.
a very quick, like this is a story. It may not conclude the story, but it's telling something here, and we'll finish that later. You come back next week for like more, or like a comic, like it just very quick, but none of it was like nothing felt meaningless.
Yeah. I was actually very inspired by some of the. I mean, you already gave your reasons why Ghost of Tsushima is your favorite. It's my turn. No, I'm just
Okay, sorry.
kidding. Um, I mean, that's what I was gonna say. Is that every side quest felt like an episode. Um, I mean, like talking about how Last of Us inspired me story wise. Like there is a comic book idea that I've been working on. Um, that like there are so many stories that I've been inspired by from the quest with Lady Masako or his relationship with his like Aunt Yuna, whatever her name is. Like all of those little bits of story, um, like
You mean Yuriko?
you is that her
The
name?
nanny?
Oh yeah, I thought
Yuriko?
he said I thought he called her Yuna at one point. Or Yura, I don't know.
Yuna
And
was the Yuna
oh,
was
the companion.
the
Um,
companion.
yeah,
The thief.
the thief. Anyway, um, it it just inspired me in so many ways. In that, but yeah, like of course the music's great, but I love seeing that title card pop up. It's like it's like uh, it's just so satisfying to see it. Which is well, that's a spoiler. Never mind. Um. So yeah,
Not and not
the only
and the and we're not that's different than the title card of the actual game as you're like riding through the fields and
mhm,
those like just like cinematic title card name cards
yeah,
pop up. Those are all cool, but
yeah.
the specific like side quests like had like a subtitle, like episode title, and
Well,
then
yeah, I mean,
like whatever.
every story you entered had a title to it, like
Yeah.
the the debt collector, the gambler, the you know
Hmm.
the day that the human died. I just like it felt like like you're watching like Avatar or something, and everything had or Pokemon. I mean, I'm using those like episodic things that don't necessarily specifically to one another, but it's all there. But anyway, yeah,
They're
I like.
almost out of context. They would be like an anthology of
Mhm,
this,
mhm.
like it's just stories of this samurai, or like
Yeah,
Sherlock Holmes. Like
yeah,
there are all these different stories of like this is what he's doing here, and the legendary samurai goes on to the next town. He goes from
yeah.
town to town, and like I think it's just such just a brilliant work of like just writing and storytelling.
Mhm. And the only game I've ever played that, um, I've listened to it entirely in a non-English, um, dialogue.
Yeah,
I mean, it just seems like that's the way it's made to be played. Um,
and trying to listen to it with English uh dialogue it just didn't sound right. It just sounded weird and
I haven't
hokey.
even
And
tried.
I feel I don't want to degrade or talk bad about the actors. I don't know if they're different actors or the same actors speaking both languages. I don't know. Um, and I thought it was funny early on. I saw some complaints that uh the voices don't actually are the lip syncing is actually done in English and not Japanese. So
Mm,
the Japanese track doesn't line up with the mouth movements. But I'm reading the subtitle, so I don't actually see the mouth movements that often.
yeah. I will say
So
if
I
there was any issue I had, like, it's minor though, is like when you're trying to fight, but they're talking, and you're like, "Wait, what are they saying?" And
yeah,
then you tend to it got a little frustrating.
or
But
try
I
yeah.
do
There was a couple times like riding the horse,
mhm.
like we're riding fast through town, and I've got to avoid or start a fight, and they're talking. I'm like, hang on, what did you say?
Yeah. I think there's some moments there, and but I mean honestly, like I feel like you probably like people. I don't know if it was the default, like if most people played with Japanese, but I imagine most people did because it seems like if you played it another way, you would have a different experience with the game. Like,
Yeah, well, it just seemed like when I listened to a couple spoiler casts, and it almost seemed invariably that they listened to it in English because they
oh
talked
really?
about this like voice lines that I never heard, like just the way he talked to his horse. Um, they mentioned lines that I just never heard or saw,
Mm.
like or read. I was like, I don't remember him ever talking to his horse like that.
Well, see, I
Um,
remember the example game, and I actually at least I don't know if it was frequent, but I do remember like him hopping back on the horse and being like, "Kage, one day we are gonna just ride free and on all that stuff." But I
yeah,
don't
I
know
don't
if it
remember those
was.
lines.
Yeah,
Um,
we can talk
and
about
it
Ghost forever. But I'll let you wrap up the point. But I do have one last thing I want to get into before we go.
I don't really have any more points. It's just Ghost is
Yeah,
incredible.
it's such an
We do
incredible
have.
game.
Go ahead.
No, I
Move on.
already said my point.
I said
No,
my
you're gonna
point.
say we do, but you said we do have. You pointed. You're like we do have.
Oh, we do have a couple more points as far as
Oh yeah, yeah.
to
So
like. So we do
yours
have a few more
was
games coming out.
yeah, yeah. So uh,
Sorry, the between the delay, it's hard to like
yeah, yeah,
get
yeah.
timing.
Great. So there's a lot of games that are coming out still that could or may. And I'm gonna list some that I think could be on mine, and I want to let you list off some that can be on yours to see if there's any overlap.
Okay.
So games that could be, but I haven't played yet, or
Okay.
haven't finished. Um, or in the Will of the Wisps, um,
Hmm.
Spiritfarer, Persona 5 Royal. That should have been first, to be honest. Um, Dreams, because Dreams officially came out this year.
Yeah.
Um, Cyberpunk, Marvel's Avengers, a game I'm surprised we haven't talked about yet. Fall Guys. Um, I've been playing
Hmm.
Fall Guys. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Um, I did write Assassin's Creed, but I think that was just like I don't think I'm not playing Assassin's Creed.
I have no desire.
I did see that Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning is coming out this year, um, and I
Yeah.
never played it, and it could be a game I'd like. Um,
I have no idea. I don't
yeah,
remember the original. I didn't play the original. I don't know anything about it other than some people like it and it's coming back.
yeah.
Cool.
And
Um,
then I have one question for you, but I don't know if this is going to be on your list or not.
okay.
Um, so
Um,
could do you want to list yours off real quick?
I listed the same things. I think the upcoming games I listed were Marvel's Avengers, Cyberpunk 2077, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Persona 5 Royal, and Star Wars uh,
Oh, I forgot about that.
Squadrons.
I don't know if
Those are the
Star Wars Squadrons will make it onto mine just because um, I don't know if I'm down for that level of detailed like dogfighting. It seems like it's going to be pretty like technical.
yeah.
Um, um, and I'm looking for maybe a more arcadey experience. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't think
Um,
Marvel's Avengers is going to make on it.
I don't think so either. I'm hoping to pop into the beta and see, but from what I hear, it's probably going to be fun, but I don't think it's going to be game of the year material. Um, just based off what we've seen all leading up to it, what we've heard, I don't think the character. I think it's just everything
Mm,
just feels like not
mhm,
the Avengers, and I'm sure it'll be fun. I'm sure it'll be fine, but I don't think it's going to be game of the year. Cyberpunk 2077. I don't know that it'll be my game of the year. I think it'll fall into it's too big for me.
mhm,
I'm gonna probably try it. I'm sure it'll be mind blowing as far as like the level of detail you can create, and maybe it'll surprise me and be like, yes, this is my game. I'm not the biggest cyberpunk fan, like as a genre.
Mm-hmm.
I like elements of it, but I think it can get a little bit cheesy, a little bit over the top. So I'm afraid it like I like the movie the Harrison Ford
Oh,
um
yeah, I didn't watch it.
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was, but it never blew me away. So I'm afraid that's probably going to be where that's at.
Yeah.
Again, I tried playing The Witcher. It didn't really do anything for me. So, but I'm willing to give Cyberpunk the try for sure. I think probably Star Wars Squadrons for me. I'm excited to play it because it's a Star Wars, X-wing versus TIE fighter type game. It's going to be 100% front to back PSVR compatible, so I'm going to be hooking up the PSVR and playing it in VR for at least as long as I can. If it gives me problems, I don't know if I'll get headaches or not. But if that becomes a problem, I'm going to play it one way or the other. So I'll report on that. Spider-Man Miles Morales definitely has a possibility. I think it's going to probably be too small to actually overcome Ghosts for me, but we'll see. I'm excited to see a Miles Morales storyline, especially because it's going to be a storyline we just haven't seen enough of. We saw the Into the Spider-Verse storyline, and as far as in visual medium, I haven't read any of the comics with Miles, so I can't, or seen any of the shows, but I saw Into the Spider-Verse, and I'm excited to see what Marvel, what Insomniac is going to do with that. But I think the one that could definitely be the one is Persona 5 Royal. Like, being as Persona 5 was probably one of my favorite games of all time. And hearing that the additions to Royal have made it just a better game overall. I can imagine Persona 5 Royal just being probably one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah. I am surprised we still haven't gotten into, especially.
I'm not surprised because it's such a big game, and we went from having to play having to play Final Fantasy VII in April, and that was a 60-hour game, to playing Last of Us in June, and
like a 30,
getting through that 35 hours for me, and without almost a breath jumping into Ghost of Tsushima. So,
which I don't really know how much time I spent in that game.
Now I remember being like, I don't know if it could be a 60-hour game because I think it might overstay its welcome. I'm sure I put at least 60 hours in that game, and I want more. So it definitely didn't overstay its welcome. So Persona 5 Royal is without a doubt 100 to 120 hour one playthrough.
Yeah.
So that's just something I haven't been ready for yet.
I'm not ready for that to take over my life.
Really, the next one is Avengers. That's probably not going to occupy my time a ton. And then Star Wars is in October. And then Spider-Man's probably November with Cyberpunk. So we probably have, the next few months to really get into Persona 5.
But
and
Josh,
I do plan on it.
There's one game you haven't mentioned, and I'm very surprised to hear about this.
That you haven't heard it?
That I haven't heard you talk about it. Where's Destiny in your fall lineup?
Oh, Destiny comes out in November. They got delayed.
Well, no, I know. But like, I mean, alongside with the PS5 and Cyberpunk and stuff, we have a brand new look at what Destiny is going to be. I actually don't even know what the brand new look, but Beyond Light is coming out. Do you think that has a place to get you back into it? Because we've both been out of it for a while. Like it's almost like a pastime at this point instead of that was something we did back in the day, in the early.
Yeah. constantly think about wanting to get back into Destiny. It's just such a commitment to. I know what I need to get in to do to get things moving in there, and I know the kind of hours I used to have to put into that game to be like into that game, and with Persona 5 and Ghosts, and I just don't know if I can commit. I would love to, and probably will, and I will definitely get into the expansion. Um, but at no point is Destiny going to be Game of the Year.
Well, sure.
I mean, Destiny can't even be my favorite game of all time, even though it is probably the game I've spent. It is not probably. It is easily the game I've spent the most time playing. Period.
I mean, you wouldn't put it in your top 10 categories?
It would probably be top 10. But just because of hours played, not necessarily because I think the story is on par with everything else in that top 10.
Well, sure.
I think the lore is probably on par with.
Well,
stuff.
games don't this is something I've been recently learning from my peers at work is that I have a friend who doesn't care about stories in games at all. He always feels like stories come secondary to gameplay. And I mean, I definitely think stories suffer if the gameplay isn't fun. But I think if the gameplay hooks you, and it was what I mean, look at Torchlight. That's I mean, it's the same kind of loop. I think you could put just because the story, about Cade 6 isn't maybe as interesting as what happens in The Last of Us, doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad
I
game.
don't know. Cade 6 was that was such. I'm not saying Bungie or Destiny is a bad story. I've always liked the story. Even the first game, I didn't really have a problem with the storyline. I've always liked the story. It's just not necessarily been presented better than everything else.
Yeah.
It's better than a Call of Duty campaign.
Yeah.
It's better than. I mean, it's better than a lot. I'm not. I don't want to mince my words here. I love Destiny. I love the lore of Destiny. I love the characters, Cade 6 and Zavala, and I think Ikora. I think they're all incredible characters. Eris is a very weird, interesting character, and the world they've built is incredible. So I don't want to say that it's just a dumb game I like to play. It's not. It's not that at all. It has problems, and it's it just for me my favorite games of all time are the Mass Effect trilogy. It's not the trilogy. I didn't play the first one. The Mass Effect 2 and 3. I think the story, and that is probably still on one of the best stories ever made. I think Kingdom Hearts, even for all its weird and wackiness, I think except for 3, I think the morals and the point of the story is and the gameplay land so high for me. So Persona 5, I think, not only consumed my time, I finished that game and after 120 hours and immediately put another 80 hours into that game. And wanted to go back again so I could get the platinum, but now I've got another version to play. So I don't know how I'm going to do. Am I going to play that with a guide so I can get the platinum? Anyway, I'm rambling at this point.
No, that's okay. So it sounds like wrapping the. So far, your game of the year is Ghost of Tsushima, followed closely by Final Fantasy VII Remake. Mine,
right,
so far, is The Last of Us Part 2, followed closely by Ghost of Tsushima. This year, it looks like those are going to be this based the way the next 4 months look. It looks like that's what's going to be it for the year. Because while all of these games look like they're going to be a lot of fun, and we have an exciting fall coming up with a new system, doesn't quite seem to be that there's going to be something that might dismount these games. But we could be surprised. Yeah. Cyberpunk, could wonderfully be it could be like what this Torchlight game is to me, a game that doesn't seem like it would be my thing, and all of a sudden, it sucks me in. So definitely excited about that. Well, Josh, I think we've talked for quite enough.
Yeah.
We got a lot.
I do have an honorable mention.
Yes.
It doesn't count because it didn't come out this year. But for me, definitely one of my favorite games I've played this year is Slay the Spire.
Yeah. I'm not willing to put Torchlight on that category yet, but we'll see. Game's a favorite game I've played
still
this
think
year,
about
but
when
never...
to pop that in and get through it. But I want to beat The Messenger. I want to beat Call of Duty. And there's a couple other games on my dashboard I kind of want to get through.
Oh, I re-downloaded Arkham Knight because I feel like I wanted to get back into that game because I can't get Arkham City because Arkham City is locked to either the PS3 or to buying the Arkham Knight, the Return to Arkham collection, which has the first two, or the Arkham trilogy, which I don't need to buy 3 again, and I don't want just one Arkham City. And so, yeah. Anyway,
well, was that for your Xbox? Well, you could probably go to GameStop and get a used.
But I can't play it on the PS4.
We don't play it on the PS4. Play it on the Xbox.
I can get an old copy of Arkham City and play it on the Xbox. I guess it goes backwards compatible.
Yeah, I'm sure it's. You'd probably have to look it up, but I would see if it's backwards compatible.
Yeah, but I
just wanted to play. Well, I mean, yeah, there's that, but
I just don't want to spend $17 on one game. I mean, that sounds really bad. On a pack for 2 games.
On a game you've already got. Well, we actually have 2 copies of.
Well, that's because I actually sold it for my roommate on accident. But anyway, that's a story for another day.
All right.
Thank you guys for listening.
Really, we could have had 2 shows out of this. We could have had.
Honestly. I mean, we could even play around with that if you want. I could do 2 endings. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Ware Gaming Weekly. It's a lot of fun things to talk about, games that we've played and games that we are looking forward to playing. If you are interested to have any information or any opinion that is different from ours, please let us know. You can follow us at Ware Gaming _ as a channel. You can follow me at Speak Nicklish on Instagram and on on Twitter. You can follow me. Let's try that again. Take 2. You can follow the show at Ware Gaming _ on Twitter. You can follow me at Speak Nicklish on Twitter and Instagram.
And you can follow me at Jaws1015 on Twitter. I was going to say on Instagram. No, I was going to say Instagram. It's probably the same thing on Instagram, but I don't use Instagram, so it's really Twitter is my go-to. I had a good tweet today. I think it was about there was this picture going around of these water spouts off the coast of the Gulf Coast that like in one shot there was like 8 or 9 just water spouts. Just
I'm looking at it right now.
And I was like, directed by Hideo Kojima because it looked like a promo for Death Stranding.
I love it. I'm retweeting it right now. That's great.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'll probably be doing a Ware Gaming News in the next couple days as well. I'm going to edit this probably tomorrow and get it out. But we'll also do a Ware Gaming News because we have, the DC fandom to talk about. And we probably will mix maybe a little bit of genres here because there was not only gaming news but a lot of movie news, and I think we could probably.
I was thinking we should do maybe like a fandom episode.
Yeah, we could do a fandom episode where we talk about the Batman trailer, and I kind of want to check out. Apparently, the Flash got a new suit. I think there was a promo for the show, the Flash, there was a promo for the movie, the Flash. A tease at a few things there, so I think we ought to do maybe a DC fandom and Ware Gaming News. So stay tuned for that, and I guess until next time, good night, Nick.
Good night, Josh.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah,
I can
you
go
can go.
now.
Hello and welcome.
Hello and welcome.
All right, go ahead.